2021/10-56, Community Corrections, Scott Laminin, asking to approve the Muskegon County Sheriff's Department initiate the proposal process for cognitive behavioral services in the Muskegon County Jail and in the community, and allow the Sheriff's Department to enter into a contract with the most qualified vendor.
Support.
I have a motion and support from Commissioner Wilkins and Commissioner Nash. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have a question.
Commissioner Hughes?
I thought this was something that was provided by Health West.
No.
It's not.
Does Charles? Go ahead, sorry.
No, that one, this is cognitive behavioral therapy, which will be initiated by a qualified organization that has those skills for those qualified individuals that can do that. Health West is more mental health, and this is a little bit of both. It's a little different, but it's not really directed at mental health, but more of a cognitive behavior.
I see. Thank you.
And is Scott in?
Yeah, is anybody here that can address this?
Scott's not here?
Not really. Okay.
Sheriff, maybe you can
Sheriff,
answer
speak on
this. Do you know who would be, who you would send this out to?
Michael Pullen County Sheriff. I don't know who he sends it out to. I'm assuming if it's a renewal, it's 100% funded through.
Who's doing it for you now?
Through Thinking Matters.
Oh, okay.
I'm not-
Now I know what
it's
you're
through
talking
Thinking
about.
Matters,
That
I'm not
sounds-
familiar.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But that's the
Yeah.
program.
Yes, what you're talking about. You're
I'm talking
exactly
about
right.
who's the provider.
Yeah, that
I know what
Okay,
you're
can
talking
you
about.
give me that info? I'm just trying to figure out who you use it.
He's-
And I do want to make sure if we got local qualified vendors that we get that out. I have you in mind. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
a
Yes, go ahead,
question.
Commissioner Leary.
So the verbiage in here, it's the most qualified vendor. I am wondering how that is determined. The most qualified, is it the cheapest? How is this process done to acquire who's the most qualified or who's the cheapest, or are there multiple vendors? Or is it one vendor?
This, Mr. Eisenberg had asked this too, because the language that Scott wrote was a little confusing. It's basically just proposals go up in RFP.
Right.
That's all it is.
So
So
it
just
could-
any other, just as it would be evaluated or any other process.
Yeah, it could be price, but it's also going to be about to provide the best service.
Quality of services.
So it's not, we're not necessarily going to go with the lowest bidder.
Right.
But a more qualified bidder that can actually perform and get the best outcomes.
Commissioner Hughes.
I actually, in a way, I have a problem with this, and in a way, I really like it, because I think we spend a lot of time second guessing our directors in a situation where they're the ones that actually know what it is they're looking for when they go out for a proposal. So I would like to sometimes be able to say, allow the department to go out and then also enter into a contract with the most qualified vendor. But we normally don't do it that way. It normally comes back to us with their recommendation, and we approve them both. So
That way we can hear from them.
we can hear from them again, but this is a specific thing that I'm not sure that we would even have any knowledge of who would be the best for cognitive behavioral services, and they probably would. So in that situation, I would support enter into a contract with a most qualified vendor. And normally I would not, but I do think that we should consider that moving forward. There are some times that we are really not the one qualified to make that decision when the bids come in. So I think it would save us a lot of time and put the responsibility back on the director in that situation. So not every time, but I think we should look at that option. So
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Any other questions, comments?
Just one comment, and and that's the reason why we need diverse people around this board, because one thing is for sure, this has been my field for a long period of time, and that's the reason why I asked the question that I asked, because in dealing with this population, you definitely want to make sure the best decisions are being made, but I'm okay with what they're proposing, and I'm just curious as who it's going out to, because sometimes we can miss a good qualified vendor if they don't get the proposal. So that's the only reason I asked that question.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Yes, Madam Chair. I think that we should have in that application the qualifications of the people and why that one was chosen. And it would make it a lot easier for all of us. These are the three that applied and we chose this because.
I think that's in the RFP process.
Isn't that part of the process?
It is. Yeah.
That's already in the
It's in
RFP
there.
process.
You can request that info if you want it.
I just think it would be a good.
Would you like us to
Well,
have
we
that
see those
information?
grids that have, you know, the price and the,
Yes, right.
you know, what services they provide.
Mark, you're on the line and Sheriff's here. Could you guys make sure when those come back that commissioners are sent a copy of those, please?
Yes, and I think in the pre-meeting, Commissioner Pagel, he also said that he would be bringing this information back. Commissioner Sees, your point is very valid, but I think he did say he was going to bring this back.
Thank you. We'll take care of
Thank
that.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote on number 56, please.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Sheriff Skolnick, Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
Yes,
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes,
9 yes.
and that motion passes. Is there any unfinished business to come before this committee today? Okay, no unfinished business. Is there any new business? Okay,
Madam Chair, I have an item of new business.
Commissioner Waring, you have new business?
Yes, so I'd like to address the flag policy in this committee, that only the state, the national flag, so I'm trying to amend our flag policy with this motion, that only the national flag, the state flag, the county flag, and the POW flag be flown on any county property.
Okay, the motion and support from Commissioner Waring and Commissioner Chair Skolnick to amend the county flag policy to only fly the national flag, the state flag, county flag, the POW flag to be flown on county property. We have a motion and a second. It's open for discussion. Commissioner Waring?
I just wondered what other flags are flown.
At different times, there's lots of different flags flown. Well, I noticed the other day that the flag hanging on the front of Health West is not one of our normal flags. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but frequently they have lots of different flags there. And I think we should have a policy that says, you know,
As I recall during St. Patrick's Day weekend, I think the Irish Americans, their flag up somewhere. I don't know. if
Yeah,
it's
but I
county
think that was
property.
the
What is
Irish
Could be
that?
on the city or something.
Irish Fest, I think.
Or maybe it's during Irish Fest.
Yeah, and I mean, Irish Fest, and when they have festivals, I mean, the Polish festival, the Greek festival, I don't think you're
If
talking
they're
about
renting
that.
something, that would probably.
Yeah,
This is for county property.
For county-owned property, we can't
yeah, I don't think that's
dictate what
a,
happens on other.
Well,
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Skolnick, go ahead.
If I could just make a comment, I appreciate the fact that you included, and I was afraid this was going to get left off, but that POW flag as a Vietnam veteran, which is where I think that started. It doesn't just apply to Vietnam,
right.
but it's important.
Very, very, very,
I think we should be proud to fly that flag.
absolutely. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chair Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hovey Wright,
No,
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes,
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago,
Yes,
8 yes, 1 no.
and that motion passes.
Chair, Bill, if I may make another comment.
Yes, please.
And I guess I'm addressing this today to Mr. Laren. It would really be helpful. I mean, I'm sure you knew you were going to do that. It would be helpful if we had those in advance. I mean, it's just courteous and respectful for other commissioners, even if they got it yesterday.
I'll try to be more respectful, Mr. Skolnick.
Notated, however, this is the appropriate forum to do that in the committee, so either way is fine for me to all commissioners. So moving on, I'll take note, Administrator Eisenbart, I'll assume that you'll take responsibility for contacting any county property organizations that are flying inappropriate flags here on forward. Thank you. Any other new business to come before this
I'm
committee?
not sure they're inappropriate.
I have a question, please. It's Mark.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
So the policy needs to be written. And I think Michael Mayer would bring back the policy for you to approve the policy. Is that my understanding?
I do think it would have to go through
We
full
just-
board.
Oh, we have to.
Full board to go through full board, yes.
I'm a little excited. I got to go through the full board, yeah. Putting that out. Yes, so we'll save that.
Mr. Homier has-
Full board.
Is unmuted himself to speak to.
Who?
Mr. Homier.
Mr. Homier, do you have something?
Yeah, I think I'll go back and check because I think that we had worked on a flag policy for the county before. So I may have something already in the works anyways.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I guess we'll look forward to finishing that by the next full board. Are there any other new business to come before the committee? Okay, any public comment? Sheriff?
Michael Poole, County Sheriff. While I appreciate what Nancy had to say, both Mr. Laring's comments, I mean, just a review of the last 2 months, minutes from those meetings, there's no reference in those meetings about anything that the London Municipal Store put in there. And though I understand this commission's decision to give the sheriff's office 30 days to find new storage for almost $280,000 worth of equipment. We are running out of 30 days here in Muskegon County of an adequate place to find storage. So I mean, please understand that, okay? I have located a venue that may work that I can look into, but obviously it's going to cost money. And at this time, I guess I would just request that the County Board of Commissioners honor their lease agreement that they made with the Fair Board in 2007, which was just renewed last November for 5 years.
For the mounted unit. Is that what you're saying?
No, your lease agreement with the Fair Board. I'm asking you to honor that.
Do you have a copy of that agreement?
Yes, I do.
Because I wasn't here in 2007.
You know, if I could make it, is it okay?
If I don't lose
Please,
my time.
Chair Coleman.
I just saw that contract yesterday, and he has a contract through 2025 that specifically gives him permission to store things in a barn at the fairgrounds,
Free of charge.
free of charge.
It says free of charge. Yeah.
What it says.
When was this contract renewed? I missed it.
It was renewed November 25th.
21, 2020. Okay, I was here.
Commissioner Hughes signed it. The lease rate, it says the Fair Association agrees to pay the county in consideration for the use of property described above for the sum of $1 per year for the term of the Third Amendment Fairgrounds Management Agreement, and agrees to permit the Muskegon County Sheriff's Department to use a barn on the property for winter storage of vehicles and equipment. So for their ability to pay $1, we get to do that. That's the agreement we made with the Third Board. And this expires in 2025.
Yeah, I'll refer that to corporate counsel because I wasn't here last year.
And they
I
did,
haven't seen
and they
that
did make a
contract.
request to move them out, so. That was.
They may need to amend their contract to sever that if they wish
And-
so to do that.
And I understand, listen, I told you guys before, I'm all for getting out of there. It's the timing. And if anybody wants to dissolve this, we get a year, right? So, I mean, just honor your contract is all I'm asking.
Yes,
Another year, you
Commissioner
said?
Nash.
So point of
Until
order,
next
this
year.
is public comment.
Oh, this is
Point of-
public comment, right? Thank you. Okay. Sheriff, I'm going to speak to that because I wasn't here in 2021. I have not saw that contract. Could you make sure the commissioners get a copy of that contract sent to our emails or Mark or corporate counsel, somebody? I was not aware of this information.
Yeah.
I think I don't know anyway, so.
The issue is just the timing is what this is. I'm just looking for more than the 30 days, obviously. We can get through this winter. This is not the time right now to try to find
Thank
another
you.
location.
Can I
No,
make a
it's-
public comment, please?
Yes, go to the podium.
No, he can.
I want to make a public comment
Okay.
here. I just think that I understand what Commissioner Lance is trying to do. But I understand that, I believe that we're moving too fast. We're doing a military reaction. You can see 30 days I thought was just out of this world. First of all, we have to find a place. Second of all, we're not really hurting the sheriff. All we're doing is spending more money. When we made that decision, we decided we got to spend more money. And it was so sound for us to just pay the rent where we were at with all the other entities. Otherwise, you know, the proposal was for 3 million. And we could have paid 24,000 each year for the next 10 years and still only spent $250,000 for 10 years. So that's why I propose we just decide to let the sheriff pay, and if we want, pay them the rent for it. If that's what they're hurting for, let's just pay them the rent and let's just keep them there. But if we do want to move these items, I don't think we can do it that fast. We have to take our time to be able to do this fiscally right. And I think fiscally right now, so putting ourselves in jeopardy, we're going to end up spending more money trying to secure that equipment that we have to secure. It's not the sheriff. He's just got it. But it's for us to pay for where it's stored and where it's protected. And that's on us. So all we're doing is charging ourselves. So I just think it'd be wise for us to extend that until such time as we can find a way to get a place that's more economical and comfortable for all of us. But that's just my opinion.
Are we making public comments? Are you
Can
gonna
we
get
make
control of this
motions?
meeting?
No, we're past motions. That was under new business. Charles asked to speak under
This is
public
public
comment.
comment.
So
This is-
we can move on to final board comment, please.
I-
Commissioner Hughes.
Yeah, you know, I certainly understand the sheriff's predicament there. And we did find a place out at the wastewater that's 10,000 square feet that he could move into that. Now, according to the sheriff, it does have a leaky roof, but it doesn't take much to fix a leaky roof. And then he's got a building that he doesn't have to pay rent on. They're gonna let him have it. They built a brand new one. They don't need it. It's just sitting out there. So I think that would be a perfect place for the sheriff to go. We might have to put a roof on it, but you know, I mean, it's still, even if we had to put a roof on it, it's gonna be a usable building with a roof on it. I've been in there lots and lots of times. It's a nice, big, open building. It will give him a lot of room.
Which building are you referring to?
The Zillington building
At the
Actually-
wastewater.
at the
Yeah.
wastewater.
Have you looked
It's
at
out on,
that?
it's out on Swanson.
Are there any other final board comments, Marcia?
Yeah, I do think we need to reconsider the timing on that resolution or whatever it was, the item, because 30 days is kind of unrealistic.
Any other final board comments?
I'm certainly getting mixed information from
Yeah.
the fair board, what the fair board decided and what other people reported, and it's, I don't know how to sort out the truth.
She
Sheriff
didn't
Coleman?
speak on behalf of the Fair.
Sheriff Colnick?
Some of us got to look at the building at the airport at 1 o'clock this afternoon. About a third of the space was, first of all, this has become like the sheriff's equipment. The sheriff doesn't own this equipment. The county owns the equipment. We all own the equipment. So asking him to move the stuff out of there isn't really, it isn't exactly, it may feel good, but it isn't really his equipment, and we're responsible for it. So we looked at the building at the airport, and really only a third of that space has the sheriff's equipment in it. The rest of it is emergency management, and there is some expensive equipment in there. He's got a brand new fire engine in there. It's set up for hazmat use. It cost over $500,000. It was a grant from the state. But this stuff can't, it has to be above freezing. Because some of that equipment really can't be winterized. One of the pieces of equipment the sheriff has got is this 32-foot boat that was grant money also. It's got jet pumps on it. It's actually used for, one of the things it can be used for is putting fires out. It's also got jet drive. That is not a cheap thing to winterize. It's super expensive to get that ready for storage. So it needs to be above freezing. I asked the sheriff what it cost to get that thing winterized. I believe the number he gave me by the time they got done with everything was close to $10,000. So anyway, all I'm getting at is this equipment is expensive. It belongs to everybody in the county. It's not the sheriff's. It belongs to everybody, every citizen in this county, and it deserves to be protected. And I understand that you get something for free. It's not really free, but I'll tell you what, if my boat is on fire and that thing puts the fire out to the cost of storing it, that's a good deal for everybody. It's not just me. I mean, anybody who might need it. So I don't know what we're going to do with this equipment. It's not going to be free. We all know that. We're going to have to put it someplace. But to put him under a 30-day ultimatum that he's got to move the equipment. He is not a deadbeat renter that you're trying to kick out of your apartment. This is like crazy. So anyway, that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Right.
Another point that, let's say he pays the rent, it's 24,000 a year. So that goes to the airport. So that means that's 24,000 less that we have to help the airport. So it's just moving money from one pot to another that doesn't reduce what citizens pay in taxes or anything. It's moving money around to
Thank you.
make somebody feel well.
Thank you,
Good.
Commissioner Hovey. Commissioner Wilkins?
Yes, Madam Chair. It seems to me like this is creating a family feud. You know, we're all in the same family. It's like, let's get him out of there and all this. We need to sit down and come up with a solution that is applicable and satisfaction to us and to them, because this is just like family fighting.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilkins. Any other, Commissioner Larry?
Yes, so nobody's asking the sheriff to move out of the airport property. They're just asking his department to pay the other department. Every department is charged for other services within the county. If IT goes to work out at the wastewater, they charge back for their services. There's no charge back for this property at the airport. The airport doesn't receive revenue from the sheriff's department for storage. That's the issue. No one's asking them to move out or vacate the
Oh, why
airport.
not replace that?
The fair board voted to request that piece of property. The fair barn 5 has leaked for 10 years. It's got a leaky roof. I personally went out to the Zelinka building out at the wastewater. It's virtually empty. There's 10,000 square feet of usable space. The roof has a very, very minor leak in an area that he wouldn't even use. The roof out there doesn't leak. It's in great shape. The building has power. The lights work. It's more secure than out at the fairgrounds is. It's actually an upgrade, and it's virtually empty at this time. So the only thing currently out at the fairgrounds are 2 empty boat trailers and a deflated Zodiac. The board chair at the fairgrounds has already agreed to let the sheriff's mounted posse keep their stuff there. And the sheriff's mounted posse provides a tremendous amount of services to the fairgrounds during Fair Week. And have already agreed to let all the mounted posse, they train their horses out there. They do a lot of work. They've agreed to let them keep their stuff out of there for the services rendered by the fair board. There's another area for the sheriff to move his stuff. There's currently out there, if he's got to put a boat on a trailer, he has to haul it out of there anyways to put the boat on it. He's not going to truck the boat in there and plop it down on a trailer. The trailer is going to be transit anyways to get it to someplace. So let's just move it to another location if he doesn't have room at the airport. My thought is there's typical square foot boat. They measure from the tongue of the trailer to the prop of the boat. There's a square footage fee for that, the width of the trailer from the width of the trailer. If he stores them out at the fair, at the wastewater, let out of his budget. If he's renting for 2 boat trailers, like they would do with a boat trailer, it's tongue to tongue, the width of the trailer, or tongue to the motor, let him pay the Board of Public Works for the whatever space he takes out there. Nobody's kicking it to the curb. There are other locations, multiple other locations within the county to store this stuff. I just toured the Zelinka building out at the wastewater plant. It's virtually empty except for some dirt on the floor and nuts and bolts and some bins. And the roof doesn't leak, other than a very minor drip. It rained pretty hard yesterday, and you couldn't have filled my coffee cup with the water that it came down on the puddle on the floor. Had no water on the floor, but it was damp in an area the size of a basketball after all of the rain we got yesterday. This interdepartment or this family feud that we're not having What I am trying to avoid is what I'm going to use the term, it may not be popular, but interdepartment theft, where we have one department getting free rent and charging another department. Another department has to account for that vacant space. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Larry. Any other final board?
One-
Commissioner
one-
Nash?
One last comment. We've offered multiple times to pay for that, just to pay for it. We need to put a new roof on it. Why don't we do that? But why is that not a solution? That's the only question I don't have, is because it's the most economical thing we got. We don't have to move now. We could fix it and we can move on. And then the sheriff don't have to worry about moving everything. We're paying the lowest amount we can pay, and we fix the roof at the same time. I just think that's a win-win for everybody. But we have to be considerate of that and, do what makes sense. I think that makes the most sense.
Which building are you referring to?
The one at the fairground.
At the fairgrounds?
Yes.
Can I ask,
Commissioner
Why?
Larry, go ahead.
why does it not make sense to move them into an empty building that's in better shape? It's actually structurally more sound. It's a steel, pre-engineered steel building out there.
I would let the sheriff
Well,
respond.
I'm
to
not
that
asking the
because-
sheriff a question.
Well, what I'm saying, I spoke with the sheriff before, and he said that location is a lot different. It's gonna have a different effect on how they do things in that process. So I would also, talk to the sheriff and see how it's gonna affect him, because we're talking here on the board. But here's the guy that really has to deal with that equipment. And he knows what's best, is what's gonna work with their department, just like we talked about what's gonna work best with CBT and whatever else. They do know what they need. They do know what's going on. And I don't think it's political, but I think it is financially. We need to look at what makes sense. And I just think that saves a lot of work on his part, and also that location, from what I understand, is much better for the sheriff department than out there.
Commissioner Hughes?
And I agree in part with what Commissioner Nash says, but with the things out at the fairgrounds, they're mostly boats, because all that's out there now is trailers. So once they get those in the water in the spring, it doesn't really matter where you put the trailer. And it's not like he said it's too far out, but you can't be too far out when all you got in there's an empty trailer. So I don't know why you don't move into a building that's a lot newer and let the fair board use that for what it was intended for. It just seems like it would be.
That's why I would like for him to speak on it. I think we should ask those questions directly to the sheriff.
Any other final board comment? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned.